Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with my review for the series premiere of A Million Little Things on ABC. Alright, so I decided to check this one out. There was a lot of buzz around it. This show isn't typically my kind of cup of tea usually. I'm not, I don't watch This Is Us, and that's what the show has been compared to a lot, which, by the way, I don't think it is quite as good as This Is Us, of course. But for sure, it definitely impressed me. I mean, it was very, very impressive. So I'm going to split this review up. So the first little bit here is going to be recapping kind of the things that stuck out to me in the episode. So there will be a little bit of spoilers. But again, it is a pilot. So, keep in mind, I mean, spoilers, certain level of spoilers in a pilot. They're probably not going to ruin the whole show for you or anything like that. Now I'm going to give a rating and get into some of my thoughts, which won't be spoiler-based. So I will put that timestamp in the comments. So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, you can go and just kind of click on that timestamp. Or if you don't care about spoilers, you can watch it all the way through. You can click on that timestamp and go to that and just kind of hear my overall thoughts of it. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So, like I said, this was a show that was kind of on my radar. It had a lot of buzz coming up, and I was like, I don't know. But I decided to check it out tonight on ABC, and boy, am I glad I did. Very, very impressed with this one. So, first of all, I will say, though, that the trailer for it gave a lot away. I mean, the trailer is essentially the whole open, pretty much. The whole open of the show up into the little bit of an intro that they have is essentially what the trailer was. It really did not take any other scenes from the pilot, really. So that was a little frustrating to me because I recognized almost everything in that opening. But accompanying with a couple of extra scenes that we didn't see in the trailer, it was really, really powerful. So I thought that opening was one of the best openings of a pilot I've seen in a long time, or maybe ever, on network television. It was awesome. So essentially what we're setting up here is all these friends are going through something of their own, right? One is battling cancer, and he's now in remission. One is, suffering from, we think it's, depression. He's really in a tough spot, and he actually is going to, or at least going to try to kill himself. One does commit suicide, and the other is having a very tough relationship with his wife, and also his kids kind of getting thrown into that as well and being affected. So it just shows, really, to me, this is what I got, is how you really can't know exactly how people are feeling from the outside, right? And it's really tough. Now, the guy battling cancer, of course, the friends are in the loop and they kind of know what's happening, but they don't know, that feeling that he has, and that, constant kind of, fear that it's going to come back again, right? And even when he's in this remission stage. So I really love that powerful opening to start the episode. And then, of course, then we see the big event, which is the suicide of their friend, John. So he jumps off I believe it's the balcony of his office and kills himself, at the, when, hitting the ground. So anyway, so that was a very good open. I really enjoyed it. But again, very powerful, very emotional as well. So then we see all of them kind of come together, right, over this unexpected suicide of their friend. They all are friends, but this kind of brings them closer together, and just not even, this is just the beginning of the episode, immediately it just brings them together physically in a room, right? And then by the end of the episode, we see that it actually is bringing them together, mentally and feelings-wise, emotions. So anyways, but yeah, so they're trying to figure out why he did what he did, right? And I love this line where they say, it doesn't make any sense to them, and, he's perfect John, right? He was a perfect guy, and he wasn't suffering through anything, and that's what they believed, and obviously they were wrong. So, I really did like that line as well, how they called him perfect John, right? Because you see, what one, tried to, or was about to try to kill himself, so he's obviously suffering. The one, is battling cancer. Other, again, is in that tough relationship with his wife and his kid being brought into it. And John seemed to have no problems, right? He was pretty wealthy. He had this, business, I believe, or is he an agent or something? So he had his own business, and he seemed really successful. He's a perfect guy. and yet he killed himself. So it really shows, tells you exactly, you really don't know how people are feeling on the inside. And of course, John didn't show it either, right? So, really gave them no hints about how he was feeling, right? So I do, now we're skipping ahead a little bit, but that was kind of the beginning sequence that I thought was very important for this one. Like I said, I'm just highlighting important things that I saw, not necessarily going through a full recap here, just to keep in mind. Anyways, thought it was a very chilling moment then about halfway through the episode here when the three guys, so we got Rome, Rome, Eddie, and what is the other guy's name? I was forgetting it during the episode too, but anyway, so we get the three guys that are going apparently they're going to the Bruins game now, to kind of, I guess, clear their mind of things, and they visit John's office for the first time since his suicide. And I thought this was a very chilling scene, a very chilling moment. Maybe it wasn't quite a scene because it was kind of interrupted by the kind of parallel scene with the women talking about was it Maggie? I think it was Maggie. Her battle with her breast cancer and stuff. So, but I did think it was such an incredibly powerful scene here, and I do think it kind of really hit them, right? And the guy's name I'm not remembering right now. He kind of seemed like, level-headed. He didn't seem to be, affected by this too much. And again, that's kind of attributed to his, suffering with the cancer and everything like that. So he has been through a lot, right? And we understand that. And that's maybe why that emotion isn't hitting him quite as hard as the other two. But I think even for him in this scene, it really sinks in, right? Seeing that kind of caution tape on the balcony, seeing that office, it was really powerful and chilling for them. And again, they're still trying to find that reason. Why did he do it? What was happening with him? I don't want to say what was wrong with him, but you know what I mean? Like they're trying to figure out why he did this, right? And that question comes back again, and Eddie is asking. So, and then of course we have a really confusing stuff here with the secretary Vanessa, and so of course that kind of plays into this scene as well. Then I really thought this was another powerful scene. Next up is in the bar between the three men, right? And okay, so sorry, his name is Gary. That's the other guy's name, Gary. So I did have that written down. I just totally forgot. So anyways. Gary, Rome, and Eddie are the three men there, and then John is their friend. So, anyways, they're sitting at the bar there between them, and it seems kind of like a lightheaded, a light, like it seems like a light conversation, right? And then Gary is really kind of goes into it, and he says, we've been friends for years, and he works out an equation or something and says, I was sitting with John in that seat at the Bruins game for 900 and something hours, and been friends with him for years, and I didn't know anything was wrong with him. I didn't know he was depressed, right? And then he says the problem is they don't talk, right? Or at least not about anything meaningful, right? They kind of just have the same conversations again and again, night after night at the Bruins games or whenever they, get together, and nothing is really talked about. They don't talk about each other. So that I thought was a very powerful scene as well. Some powerful dialogue there from Gary. And I felt like, again, this was because of that office visit for him that it kind of hit him, and he's kind of starting to realize what is going wrong here. So really thought that was great, right? They don't talk. And that's a big thing. And again, I'm going to share my thoughts, but this goes back to the whole relatable part of this show, and I feel like it's very, very, very relatable for a lot of people. So, anyways, then we see, so this then we're at the Bruins game, and this was the next big scene for me is Gary says, not one good thing that is, has happened, right, because of John's death. Right? And, not one good thing has happened. Everything is kind of, going to shit, right? Lack of a better term. And finally, this is when Rome kind of takes his chance and actually opens up to them. And he actually reveals how he is feeling, right? And he says if he didn't receive the phone call, he would be dead, right? And so, and again, like, because he was trying to kill himself, right? Because he didn't actually, swallow the pills yet, right? And so that would be the act of trying to kill himself. And so anyway, so he's saying if he didn't get that phone call that interrupted him, he probably would have been dead by now, right? And that is just something, and he says it, I know it's crazy to you guys, right? And this goes back to the point of they never talked. They never knew that he was struggling. They just thought he was a perfect guy. And again, he says that at the very beginning of that little line. And I thought that was a huge, huge line. And he says, I feel like I can't breathe. That was a very, very, chilling line, very powerful. So, great scene here. Rome is able to open up to them. And again, this is probably the first time they've actually had a real conversation about anything meaningful. And again, it's sparked by John's death. So that's the kind of an overall theme here. And such a chilling and emotional scene. Very emotional. Just that whole kind of monologue that Rome had there to the other guys and the way that they kind of receive it. Gary gives him a hug. So very emotional there. But again, I want to outline this or point out this is it happens at the Bruins game of all places, right? So again, that's showing that this show, yes, it's going to be emotional and powerful and going to tackle these things, but it's also going to do it kind of in an upbeat, optimistic kind of tone. And again, that's why this scene plays out at a Bruins game where they're cheering and celebrating, right? So that's kind of the atmosphere that this show sets up, and I thought that was very important to note. Anyways, so then towards the end of the episode here, this is where we get into the kind of big spoilers for next week, is we find out that Eddie's new woman, or his new, the person he's in love with now, was actually John's wife. And I forget her name right now, but it was John's wife. So that was kind of a curveball that I didn't actually see coming. I'm sure maybe some of you did, but I didn't see it coming. So that explains a lot, right? And again, we saw Eddie kind of feeling really guilty again at first when they go to that office and they visit. And this is just going to add so much more guilt to both Eddie and John's wife. And this is, the kind of guilt that maybe even pushes them into the kind of deep end, not necessarily, suicide, but just into that kind of depression and everything. So again, how are both of them going to deal with it? I really feel like it was a very good scene where Eddie goes and tries to talk to John's wife, and she says, if you love me, you have to leave now, right? Like, we can't be doing this now that John's dead. And I felt like that was a very powerful scene as well. So that was good. And again, we'll have to see how these two decide to kind of work with this. But again, I do feel like John's wife was missing a little bit of emotion and empathy that she typically would have for a husband who just committed suicide. But this explains everything, right? That explains it. She probably was no longer in love with John. She was in love with Eddie. So that makes a lot of sense. So anyways, an awesome ending sequence there to wrap up the episodes, building things for the rest of the season, most likely next episode, but just broad things for the rest of the season. For example, I think Maggie, I think is her name, it was revealed that she has breast cancer again. And so, is Gary going to support her in that? So again, big stuff there. And it's really showing how far these characters have come in just a couple of days, just in this episode from beginning to start, when they, kind of, find out that John committed suicide, and just from, there, and then they come to where they are at the end of the episode is phenomenal. It's amazing, the development that just took place in 40 minutes. It's crazy. And they've already learned so much, and they've already kind of learned how to share things. I mean, yes, Rome, that was a big thing to share, but obviously there's bigger steps to take going forward. But I think that was a great first step in kind of building that kind of relationship where they can talk about things, exactly what Gary was saying. So great music as well. We had Riptide on there, really liked that song. And a couple other ones. Eddie was actually, or the actor, I'm not sure if the actor was actually singing, but at least Eddie was kind of performing a little song at the end there with his guitar for his son. So really great music there to end off the sequence as well. That was really great. All right, so I'm going to give a rating first now, and then I'll get to my overall thoughts and kind of explain that rating. So my rating for this one is going to be a 4.6 out of 5. And, I would say it definitely deserves that rating. I was thinking a little bit lower, but then I thought about the episode again and the kind of the overall series that they're showing us in this pilot, and I said, no, I'm going to give it a 4.6. So here are my thoughts. So again, it's not perfect, right? This series is not perfect, right? But it's pretty damn impressive. Honestly, I feel like this pilot was probably the best pilot that I've seen for a network show, or at least had some of the most powerful scenes and messages in it for a network show. And again, you probably only see this in This Is Us. So that's the only other kind of network show that would, go into this and kind of delve deeper into these kind of themes. And again, I don't think it's up to This Is Us, obviously. I don't think anyone would. Maybe, I mean, if you haven't seen This Is Us, then for sure you would. I've only seen a few episodes of This Is Us. I'm not caught up on that. But definitely, yeah, it doesn't, it's not there. But of course, people are going to keep comparing the two. And that's just what's going to happen. But no, I don't think that they are equal at all. But that being said, for a network pilot, for, this kind of series on ABC, very, very impressive. I was thoroughly impressed by this show. So yeah, I do think that's a really, really good mix of humor, not necessarily humor, but kind of just an upbeat tone and emotion. That's that, very sad tone that they set from the beginning, but it's filled with upbeat moments, right? And I was reading this article from the creator of it, I guess, or the showrunner, and he was saying about how we're putting an optimistic spin on this kind of, sad, emotional story. So that's what they're going for with this show, and I feel like they they did a very, very good job of accomplishing that in this pilot, right? You could see, I mean, yes, it's a very sad tone, but there was obviously upbeat moments throughout this pilot, and kind of optimistic stuff. So that was for sure very good. And there was a few, humorous things in there I found pretty funny. I found the scene where he was in the room full of all the women with breast cancer, and he was the only guy there. I found that pretty humorous, right? And he was making jokes about it and stuff. And that again just speaks to Gary's character, right? He's going through that really, really tough process, but he's still able to, kind of keep an upbeat, tone and make jokes. So again, speaks to, how well he's kind of taking that. So or how badly he's taking it too, right? It can go either way with his emotions. So anyways, that was good. I will say though, the beginning was a little fast paced for me. I find with all these network pilots, with Manifest 2 a couple days ago that I saw on NBC, all these pilots set out and they're so fast paced, right? Because they got to get, the viewers in right away. They can't, be too slow and lose attention. But I feel like it kind of hurt this show a little bit because that beginning part, it was powerful, right? But I just feel like it's a little fast-paced, right? I feel like we could have built more of a connection and emotion with these characters and the overall story. The pacing was just slowed down a little bit. Maybe kind of, again, but it's a pilot, so you can't really do that or else they're going to lose attention of viewers. Though with this show, I would argue, I feel like people would stick around for it even if it had kind of a slow pace. So, because it's just such a powerful, chilling open there, I feel like you definitely could have slowed it down. So that was one thing that I think people are going to judge this on too. They're going to say, well, the funeral and everything, it didn't seem emotional enough. These characters weren't actually, vested enough. I wouldn't say that. I would actually say that it was just too fast paced to actually see these characters vested in this and emotional because of this event. So again, that would be my biggest negative for this one, is the beginning was just too fast paced. I did really like the kind of back half of the episode, or the back third of the episode, act 3 or whatever, whatever you want to call it, because it slowed down the pace a little bit and we got more intimate with these characters and learn more about them and learn these relationships. So I felt like that was very good. So that's probably my biggest negative. I thought great performances all around. I thought this cast was impressive. Again, network pilots, not always the best cast, as I'm pretty sure we all know. We've all kind of experienced that. But I thought they were very good. At least the main cast was very good. I would say probably the most impressive was the actor who played Rome. I forget his name. I think his name is actually what is his? I think it's Roman. I think in real life it's his actor's name as well. I thought he was very good, and of course the guy, the main actor who's playing Eddie, I thought he was very good as well. So great performances all around, and you need good performances for a show like this. And so seeing some of those others kind of supporting actors giving those same performances is going to be very beneficial for the show, and I hope they do. I'm not saying that they don't in this pilot, right? But I'm just saying as it goes on in the episodes, continue here, I think, they got to kind of step it up. You know what I mean? They got to really give good performances if you're going to get the audience to buy in, to believe this, right? And feel that same emotion as the characters are supposed to be in that scene. Very relatable characters and situations. I think for a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and I mean, yes, this is based around four men, a four-men friendship, but of course, their wives, their, loved ones are obviously play a big part in this too. But I'm sure, women friend groups like this, men friend groups, every friend group I would feel could relate to this kind of stuff, or at least like adult friend groups, right? And just really relatable themes and situations that happen here. Now, obviously not all the friend groups or not all adults know their friend who killed themselves, obviously. But just, some other stuff in here and those conversations that are being had in this episode, I definitely feel like they're very relatable. Such a powerful message in this one, and we knew this going into it, but such a powerful message I feel like is needed right now. A lot of people are saying, it's going to be 13 Reasons Why. I don't think so. I don't think you can even compare the two. I don't agree with that. I feel like this is kind of a more optimistic look, and of course 13 Reasons Why is, really kind of going into that and trying. See, this one is trying to find a reason why he did it, but more so kind of living their own lives and being inspired, not inspired by his suicide, but impacted, kind of pushed into living better lives. And so that I feel like is a very powerful message that's needed right now in the world and in television for sure. So yeah. Now again, I'm looking forward to where they're going to take these characters and where they're going to take this story. But my main thing is, can they keep this momentum going? I felt like this pilot was very impressive, but with only like 2 or 3 little storylines that they have, to play with now from this episode going forward, are they going to be able to keep that momentum up? I'm not sure how many episodes this season has. I saw on IMDb it only has 6 episodes, but I'm not sure about that. I think it would have more, especially if it was a series ordered by ABC. But anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure there'll be more than 6 episodes. But anyways, can they keep the momentum going for 6+ episodes and keep these storylines, kind of exciting, or not necessarily exciting, but, at least captivating and letting the audience or getting the audience to care, to buy into that. So that's going to be a big thing to go forward, right? And finally, I do think that this could be the best new show of the fall. I think this is better than Manifest. I think it's the best network pilot that's come out so far in this past this past week, I guess. It's great. It's really great, and I feel like it could be the best new show of the fall. Now network show, I mean, not every show, but anyways, there are some really good shows coming out this fall. So for sure, I think it's going to be a tough race, but I think this one may actually take the cake here, and it might be the best network show of the fall. So anyways, we'll have to take a look at the ratings and see what happens. But anyways, that'll just about do it for my review of A Million Little Things on ABC tonight. Thank you so much for watching this review. And yeah, so I probably won't be back week to week, as I mentioned in the offset, in the beginning of this video. This isn't typically my cup of tea, this kind of show, but I think I'm still going to watch a few more episodes and kind of see where they take this, and really kind of evaluate it then, and kind of analyze it a little bit more. So, in terms of, future reviews, I may be back for maybe a season recap, or, an episode that I really felt was powerful. I might come back for that, but in terms of week to week, I don't think you're going to find it on the channel, so I do apologize for that. But there's also a lot of other shows coming this fall that I want to review and cover, and that there's just way too many. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this review, guys. Thank you so much for your support on the channel. Even just a couple days, the subscribers and views and likes and comments, everything, it's been awesome. So I really like to thank you guys. And again, thank you so much for checking out this review. If you haven't checked out A Million Little Things, I know it's kind of late to say this in the video, but check it out, man. If you haven't checked it out, I suggest. It was very, very impressive. Anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time in my next review. Running down to the